Trying to do that.
My dad always says technology is great when it works.
It
Are you
is.
archiving those AI meeting minutes?
Did you get permission from AI this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that yours?
They become
What?
public documentation.
Yeah.
Use it.
This month there? What?
I don't
No,
recommend
yeah,
it.
that's his.
Neither did Adam. What are you talking
Neither
about?
do I.
AI stuff. Is he doing it?
No, I don't know.
I think
No,
he probably automatically does it now.
No, we need to get rid of it.
The AI is showing.
The AI stuff needs to be gotten rid of because it becomes public record.
Oh, there's mine.
It's public record anyways. These meetings are posted.
Well, but the AI
Because it's more
itself is.
detailed than,
Yeah, the AI.
And it's not all right.
yeah, it does jump around, it's confusing.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So what did it say, reading AI as well?
It says reading AI meeting.
What's going on?
It's on.
It's not a whole lot, just talking about it.
Hey.
We're down here.
Hey,
Yeah, I was hearing the AI. I went to an Arby's the other day and AI took my order.
They get it right?
Yeah. Kind of creepy though.
What are you trying to do?
I want to get rid of the AI thing.
Bring dot AI.
Disconnect it. Not give it permission.
In theory, it's a good thing to have, but for public meetings and stuff, stay away from it.
How many kids are gonna do their, essays with AI now?
How many already did this? How many don't?
You're speaking.
I have to get girlfriends to do mine.
I talked to somebody today that construction business, and I was dealing with the concrete, took pictures of it, put it in AI, had it evaluated. They said about 80% of it was correct.
Still on there?
Yeah. That's fine. We'll just go on with, that's something we need to get rid of before next meeting.
Outside of your regular minutes and having it available, that's.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, let's call the meeting to order at 6:34. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Duncan present.
Tina Pennington present.
Shane Childers present.
Folds present. Okay. Approve meeting minutes for June 12th, regular meeting, and June 25th special.
I'll make a motion to approve the 6/12/25 regular meeting and the 6/25/25 special meeting minutes.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve July docket.
Motion to approve the July docket.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approve the bank reconciliation for the FDIC tip as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the FDIC TIF as presented. Bank reconciliation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And finally, a motion to approve bank reconciliation for the downtown tip as presented.
I make a motion to approve the bank reconciliation for the downtown tip as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mike, you're up.
I'm up. All right. So just a little update. We had a good start. As of yesterday evening, All the holes have been, they tore out the concrete in the areas of the light poles. All the holes have been vacked out with a vac truck. So just in case we ran into anything underground, we wouldn't tear it up with a drill. And all the conduit has been bored to all the light poles. So that's all completed. I believe tomorrow the rebar should show up and they'll be tying the rebar mats that go into the light poles. And then next week, the plan would be to get those installed, get the conduit done, and begin to get the light pole bases on one side poured, so that on the 21st or 22nd, the concrete guys will arrive to begin concrete on the sidewalks. So far so good on schedule. I'm still waiting on DC to send me their pour schedule, so that we can get with owners. I would expect that before the end of the week, because I would like to give these owners a week or so before we start tearing out concrete in front of their buildings, in pouring back. So it'll be done in sections. It'll come out, that section will be poured, it'll move on, so that we're not tearing out gigantic swaths of concrete that they take a week and a half to get back in. I'd rather it be sectioned off so that owners will know where they're going to go. And obviously that'll just be based on rain and in any kind of weather event. We'd have to change that up some in order for that. But so far went really well. Had 2 outstanding subcontractors for EB working. So I'm pretty happy with the contractors that won the job for you. Pretty good contractors. And DB, actually, I sent an RFI to DB about the conduit yesterday, and he answered in probably 15 minutes. He had an answer back to me. So that was really a refreshing piece that I wasn't sure how that would go when I had a question, but it went really well. He shot me an answer right back. So that was nice to see. Matt was going to be on the team here. So
And he'd just be happy that he's not having to deal with all this now, because I think he was overwhelmed and just didn't know how to, whether it was to tell us, hey, that's not part of our contract, or.
yeah, that was what I was kind of wondering if I would hear that from him.
Yeah, so.
I want to thank Josh too. He jumped in and we dealt with a little bit of stuff under one piece where there was going to be an issue with one of the light poles, and I needed another piece of concrete pulled out, and getting DC back and all that was going to be a real headache. And I'll throw a good shout out to Josh for knocking a piece of concrete out for us quickly, and it helped us out a bunch to keep this thing moving without an issue. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So
Don't do that very often.
yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, pat him on the back, Rob, would you?
Yeah.
But we'll see how everything goes. I feel like if we get DC started on their schedule, with the light poles and everything on one side done, we'll maintain this as long as we don't get any crazy weather. We'll maintain that end of August. Should be a pretty easy thing to do. I'm a little, my one concern, Shane and I have talked about this, and Josh and I, is once we start shooting elevations for our sidewalk, it's going to be very interesting to make sure that the state actually abided by your all drawings and that it's going to match. Because to me, it seems like they just kind of matched what was there, but I'm not 100% sure your new is going to. So if we have any issues with that, Josh and Shane, you guys will all be in the know, but I'm hoping it's not. So maybe if I can get DC up there next week to shoot some elevations near the end of the week, that would help us out knowing that. But that would be the only thing that I would see that may mess us up, if anything. But right now, it doesn't seem as if it's going to be a big deal.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, we start school on the 6th. Can you give me a little map of some sort to show me where you're gonna be so that we can get bus stops coordinated, prior to that day?
Yeah, as soon as I get that port schedule and I can look at it, yeah, absolutely. Do you pick up all the way through town, Rob?
She's got various stops through town. I'm not sure exactly where they're at.
I don't think
I
there
don't
should be
think
any.
Walnut is the only one that might.
Yeah.
Walnut, okay.
Walnut. And
I said something,
First Street.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said something to Lisa Pearson already, but
That's
yeah,
only Walnut and First.
okay.
And I'm
Right now, it's working out pretty good that if we can maintain the parking, we can still keep traffic flowing through town pretty well. So it hasn't been a huge issue. People have to kind of hang out a minute, but most of it, especially concrete trucks, will be really the next piece, and they can kind of get off the road pretty good to pour. So I don't think we're going to interrupt traffic all that much. It would just be, my biggest issue will be like making sure with I can't remember his name, his birthday was yesterday, who owns the banquet hall. I was talking to him about his schedule yesterday, and that's kind of a big one, being able to get in and out the banquet hall, but he has quite a bit of openings at the end of July and 1st of August. So hopefully we can kind of work a schedule with him as well. So should be pretty good.
Do you have any questions for Mike? Mike, we do appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very smooth. We're very happy so far.
Good deal. Oh, we sure appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. You're welcome. We'll see you.
Okay. Just let me just look at ourselves.
Patrick's, see, he's looking over that costume. Even during the Pledge of Allegiance, he's looking.
At the TV.
Oh, yes.
that little wedge that goes, don't you get that and put on there one time?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, in your packet are, some numbers that Doug put together. He finally got information. Yeah. So we have projected cash flow on our new TIF. I meant to send that out earlier. And I forgot. So, and then there's also a copy of the signed contract in there for you guys. It's a contract with Tech. So, and then Doug is going to go over his projections for us so that we can figure out, simplify, wanted to come to this meeting. I put him off till next meeting so that we could discuss and figure out what we want to possibly have to offer on it. So.
Thank you. So I think everybody has received a copy of what Ross has sent out in terms of the overall project and what they kind of consider their request for a TIF. Really kind of within it, just to shorten it up, is they're looking for some form of reimbursement to offset infrastructure costs. They kind of outline it as 7,500 per lot. On the last page, it says 7,000 per lot. Who knows where that number is going to end up once they get moving, but that's, at the end of the day, that's what they're looking for here. And so, that's what we have to kind of talk about today, is really, kind of stay where you are, not offer anything, do you provide support to help kick the project off? I think as Adam has mentioned and myself, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat when you come to documenting these types of transactions in terms of how they work and when the developer can get some benefit or not get benefit, those types of things. So we'll kind of briefly just go over the numbers that are in the package. The project is still 199 homes. They split it out. 119 of those homes at an average price of $250,000. And then the remaining portion of those homes of 80 at $260,000. Again, those are just assumed where they're going to start pricing. Obviously, this is over a long time period. Those can go up, those can go down, there can be changes. But that's what they're anticipating building and doing the project at. So if you look at, I think probably the best thing to do is go to what's labeled as page 3 at the bottom. What this represents here, so I talked with folks over at RDC Recording and Jared and said, okay, hey, tell me about the sewer project. How was that financed? How much of this was a part of the repayment on the sewer? And so we had a nice discussion there, very helpful, kind of, sent them over the package of what the developer was requesting, looking at, kind of work through these numbers together. They had mentioned, within that, the FDIC TIF has allocated some dollars for repayment back on that loan. They assumed out of 199 homes, 110 of those homes would have fee connection costs that would be associated to help pay back on the sewer side. So what that really means is we have a lot of flexibility to do nothing, do a lot here, do whatever we need to kind of help support the project, but also then not interfere with what's going on with the financing on the other side. So that was good conversation with Jared and Michelle over at RDC Recording, who's kind of walking through that. So this first page here, on page number 3 here, obviously through SB1, there's been some changes that have happened. Everybody is aware of that. What typically has been kind of the homestead deduction that we've had, that's changed, and within the third column outside of the dating, you'll see where that number eventually is going to go to 0 by 2030. The supplemental column on the next page is kind of what they've implemented there, starting at 40% and going up to 66.7% by 2030. So as we kind of went through these calculation numbers here, kind of the SB1 credit, which is 10% or a max $300 that you have for homes, you get your annual tax liability after credit, the number of homes being built, and then the actual revenue that's going to be produced based off of today's current tax rate of 1.4674%, off of an assumed home of $250,000, and an assumed home of build-out schedule of 9 homes, right? Because this is what they told us that they would be doing. So again, all things that can change, as we are aware of, but just based off of those projections of what they said. So the identical page, besides just the next page, has homes selling at $260,000 and starting a little bit later of dates in terms of when those would come online. And then if you take page 3 and if you take page 4, together, that's what equals page 5. And that's the log number 1 that you see, basically showing you the revenue that comes in at 250, 260, then the combined total TIF revenue, assumed TIF revenue out to 2050. And that maybe is your first page, it looks like. So what this represents is if it as performed, tax rates stayed the same, pricing, everything stayed the same, it would produce revenue of $4.14 million over the life of the TIF.
And that's just phase 1.
Phase 1 and 2.
That's both.
That's combined, that's correct. Yep. So that revenue from single family 1, 250,000 is just assumed that 118 homes, 119 homes, 199, and 80 on the second column at 260. And again, those could be flipped where some homes sell at 260 first or 250, we just don't know. And it could go higher than that, which just produces more revenue, right? So basically, if we look at, hey, this is gonna produce 4 million, they have told us that they would like or are requesting some form of reimbursement, either up to $1,492,500 or $1,393,000, depending on the cost to cover the electrical and so forth per lot. They have 7,000 in one area and 7,500 in the other area. So that's the question, I guess, kind of before us and what they're asking. Some of the things that we're seeing a lot of in the marketplace with similar type projects that have already been implemented and structured under the TIF, residential TIF, is, maybe they're building their first 110 homes in this example and saying, okay, well, if you meet this number of build and you perform as you said, maybe there would be some form of reimbursement at that point. So what's not happening is there's not dollars, there's not things, being moved on day one, but it's actually waiting for the project to start to perform. And once it's performing and we see the costs for electrical and so forth are X, it could be some form of reimbursement. It doesn't have to be 7,000 per lot. It could be $1,000 per lot, right? I mean, this is everything that you can choose, not choose, and then go back to the developer with and say, hey, we want to support your project. We have other requirements within the community, other things we need to do with these dollars, and so forth. We have to pay for sewer. We want to do more of that type of work, and this is what we're willing to do. So, no right or wrong answer. It's just kind of what you think is what you'd like to do as the redevelopment commission. And obviously with that's, a suggestion to move forward with something. We don't have to do anything tonight, right? This is just kind of something for you to think about. I think maybe we would have the simplified development folks come and give us an update and talk a little bit more about this, maybe at the next meeting or maybe a meeting in between now and the next meeting, just so the project can continue to move forward as it is my understanding and approval at the BZA at the last. So, this isn't going to stop the project from happening, but I think they would probably also like to know, hey, we're supportive, this is what we want to do, and we think we can do something. So I'll leave it at that and open it for questions. And again, we could do lots of different things, right? They could build 50 homes and you say, we'll give you $500, and it doesn't have to be tied to a lot number or how many lots were built, right? I mean, you could really do it however you want to.
I can tell you this, talking to them over a few times in the last 18 months, they don't care if they get the money now. If you want to tell them that you want to wait till that second phase to do something, they're more than happy to make their money on the last half, on the back end versus the front.
Yeah, and then that's the option of, hey, within the term sheet, you can say you have to build X number of homes. You have to build them within this time period, even if you wanted to. And it's got to have an assessed valuation of X. And if you meet those requirements, then we'll support you by doing Y. And then maybe those funds help them, I don't know, is all of the infrastructure going to be built up front, or is it going to be phased?
So all phase one infrastructure will be in, so that's
So
two-thirds of the infrastructure. will be in.
And that's tied to the numbers of their
Correct.
homes
So,
that.
so on the electric side of things, there's more money on phase one than anything, because that is bringing power into the there. So once that's in, the lots on the second phase will not cost as much as the first. That was the issue is when they originally was talking to us and IMPA gave us the preliminary numbers, it was based on 199 homes, not a smaller phase or anything like that. So that's the reason why the prices went up, is because, when they went down to a smaller number, you still have X amount that has to be put in.
And it could just, again, it could be, you build it as you build it, we give you $5 every year for, 20 years, right? I mean, You could do it that way as well, where you give them a little bit up front, or you wait. I mean, a lot of these projects, the monies are also given up front, and you hope that they build it, right? And I think a lot of people they're kind of going the other direction, where they're saying, hey, why don't you produce? And then we'll kind of give you some dollars back. So, so those are kind of, you know, everything that they're outlining, requesting dollar-wise, from that standpoint. So, any questions?
So residential TIFs are relatively new.
Yeah, they've been around, but have changed in the last, call it 2 years plus. And it's really because there's been, the state has seen the need to provide this type of help for infrastructure, in particular in rural areas. And so when it first came out, to qualify, you had to be in a certain population. Below that, you could only have a certain number of building permits pulled, you know, and those types of things. And they went away from that, and they just went to a general rule on residential TIF just to make it a little bit better. So we are seeing a lot of use of this. This is, you're not the only one that is looking at this. This seems to be, you know, way that folks are supporting people because they want newer housing, right, in their areas, wherever they are. And most of them are, you know, not in Carmel or Zionsville or places like that, or in more rural areas where they need it. So, you know, the cons are, you know, if they don't produce, you don't give them any dollars, right? I mean, so, and again, it could be tiered dollar. I mean, we can come up with so many different things to think about in terms of working with Crone on this, and Adam as well, and saying, okay, guys, you know, let's present something to the RDC and say, hey, this is how we to represent the term sheet, you know, back to them in terms of, we think this is maybe how it should be structured.
So
That's actually how Centerpoint in Southern Indiana, that they're normally used to working with electric, does is they have to get a letter of credit. So a bank's basically saying they've got that money that's tied up for, say, 3 years because they got to build 119 homes. So then they don't have to pay it if they built the 119 homes for Centerpoint to get their money back. For us, that's a totally different story because we do not, as electric, we do not have that kind of money sitting there that we can front. So, but yes, so they're used to that kind of, like what Doug's saying is, if you guys want to do that, is say you got to meet this by 3 years or 4 years, then you talk about it.
Yeah, and then you can always change it down the road if something, there was a reason why, out of everybody's hands on why they didn't continue to build for some reason, but they wouldn't get their dollars, but you could also adjust it to down the road. So, but obviously, as you can see, it's going to produce some decent money out of it.
in regards to the taxing units, what's the drawback? I mean, that's a con, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way that this is set up, I mean, these dollars are different than how the school district would be receiving their monies. And that could always be something we've seen some TIFs more on the commercial side, larger developments where they might have a pilot payment and say, hey, if we get this TIF, we're going to give $50,000 a year to the school district. You know, or the fire department, or whatever it is. We've seen those types of things as well. So,
Because it's a double, you know, Shane and I talked about, it's a double-edged sword. Because right now, we don't have to add on a Granville Wells but, you know, you do these a few times and then there's a need for that and we don't get the AB towards debt service or other things, then for 30 years, it becomes an issue.
yeah, and that's where you
we're lucky. I mean, the FTIC TIF, is there anybody, I mean, FTIC, the factory itself, we get the benefit of that because it wasn't established as that when it was built, correct? So, you know, that's just my concern. We've talked about that. So I just want to make sure that I've got my mind wrapped around it to be able to talk intelligently about it.
Yeah, and if, you know, if there's other future TIFs or other things, again, it's not uncommon for folks to ask for dollars from the developers to help
I
offset.
understand, but it's gotta be, it's rather specific on what you can use it for. Transportation and I forget the other, so, I mean, unless I'm wrong, that's the way I've understood, and I have to become more versed on it myself, but.
Yeah, that's if the dollars go back within the TIF itself. The pilot agreement is usually a separate agreement outside of the TIF that will directly benefit the end user from that. So yes, you're correct in terms of dollars that go into the redevelopment commission to through the TIF can only be used for.
But I'm just being honest, it's with everything that's going against schools and towns.
Yeah,
It's a concern to hear yet another thing,
yeah,
long term. But again, I know we need the kids, like you said, rural areas, it kind of allows some ability to be,
Yep.
to take place. But I also know the growth, once the county changes this comprehensive plan, if they do, this side of the county's gonna grow.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's with TIF or not, because people will come to Boone County.
yep. And that's one of the reasons when you get into those down the road, if it's not a pilot payment or what we call payment in lieu of tax, right? That's separated out that way. What you can do also then is, you know, somebody's not getting 75% or 50% of the revenue, you're only getting 20 because you have to pay for infrastructure, you need to pay for health services, you need to pay for school, those types of things. Not uncommon at all, every community is completely different, not even in Indiana, it's everywhere. So, in some states, when you do a TIF like in Ohio, you have to take out all the parks, the zoo, the library tax. All of those always get paid, and then the remaining portion is then what goes to the TIF. So it's just kind of different, you know, depending on the state, but also then just how on all of the communities, like in Indiana in particular, look at this. So, again, a lot of flexibility. Again, if you want to think about it, talk about it, and say, hey, yeah, we do have interest. How do we come up with a good way to write this down to match what you want to accomplish? We can put it on a piece of paper and kind of make it happen from that direction, so.
And what they're requesting is definitely not what you gotta give them.
No.
No, not at all. No, I mean, every developer wants 100% of the revenue, right? I mean, yeah. It's just, you know, again, I think, you know, maybe in some conversations, there's just been, hey, we want to be a good partner. We want the project to be successful. We have needs on our side, but how do we kind of marry that and try to make sure that this project is successful?
And I do know why came back to the table for this. Merit was supposed to be an investor in the development. This dragged on long enough that Merit invested their money elsewhere.
That's the 47 Commons or Crossing, whatever it's called.
So I'm assuming that maybe why Tom said that this project was dead over here is because he probably pulled it since he pulled out. So.
And that goes to my point that it's gonna happen regardless.
It's happening because from what I was told is, when all this happened, Deborah reached out to her contacts within, Arbor. The only thing that they were really worried about was the BZA. And so it's gonna move forward because they're in contracts now that if Arbor pulls out, and it's almost $1 million, they gotta pay Simplify. So therefore, you know, Simplify and them are gotta move forward with it, or they're paying out. The problem is that they're looking at is what their profit is. You know, they shoot for 20%. Everybody usually shoots for 20%. So once you start falling below that 20%, and according to them, that's where they're starting to fall. So that's the only, you know.
Yeah, it's a mix of construction costs and, you know, where do those land, and then, you know, what can you sell the house for? I mean, you just can't say, well, I need to sell it at 300,000, and is that gonna sell then? You know, that's kind of, so that's not uncommon for, house pricing of $10,000 or $15,000 one way kind of derail the project. I've seen it. Any questions? Comments, concerns?
If, are there other communities, small communities like ourselves that are dealing with this situation right now? Do you know?
And when you say situation, which situation? Of
Well,
looking at it
yeah,
residential?
they're-
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
And a lot of them already have been approved and they're moving forward, whether it's in this part of central Indiana or southern Indiana. I mean, yeah, you're seeing northern Indiana. I mean, these are
So
happening.
what are those, like, can you give examples of those communities? Like what they're offering in tip and, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. And then most of them that I've been receiving more recently is build it and we'll provide value back to you. And with the percentages, I have to go in and look at the minutes if they have it of meetings. But I see the announcements of them supporting and doing the residential TIFs. So that's not uncommon.
Which makes the most sense, because that way nobody's offering money up front and next thing you know, something stalls.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We have seen
I
some.
mean, I definitely think there need to be goals.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen some projects where they needed help with the infrastructure and they went ahead, did the tip up front and monetized that. Like, they're not monetizing it, so they monetized it through. But in a scenario like that, the developer is on the hook with the bank if they monetize it, if they never build, right? Because they borrowed those funds. They're just not requesting this scenario, so they're kind of just saying, hey, as it's built and it's received, we would like reimbursement back.
Yeah, the banks, they went to them and got money from the bank for all this, compared to what they were hoping for.
Yeah, because sometimes what will happen is the bank then will take the tip as collateral, right, in terms of receiving back those payments as a form of revenue to pay the loan off, and we'll have a separate portion of that is just tied and it matches the schedule of the TIF. If there's a shortfall, the developer has to come out of pocket to make up that shortfall on the loan.
If we do the goal-oriented system, is there a risk of shoddy work if they're coming up on that deadline and not trying to hurry through? Or is that when we would then negotiate based off of?
I think it's better up front today to negotiate something and then put parameters of how that can change down the road. Then that way, because what you don't want to happen is that happens in 10 years and none of you are around, right? And then they're trying to figure out, well, what did this mean? And they're reading minutes. And then, like of tonight's meeting. Well, she said this, right? I mean, just from my experience, I would say it would be better to try to establish what that looks like now and have them live up to those promises.
Yeah,
down
but
the road.
I think Katie's concern is if we set a date that you have to have 50 homes built by X date to get money.
Or you don't even, or you don't have to put it, or you don't have to put a date in there, and you just say it's the number of homes. Because the number of homes will be a direct result of the assessed valuation and the taxes received.
Well, I see where Katie's coming from, but you also have to remember is simplified someone asking for the money, not Arbor.
Right.
Arbor's the one that's building, so
It's
therefore,
not
and they're not gonna build more than 9 homes a quarter, which is their bare minimum, unless they're selling.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, they're all, again, assuming 9, they could sell 12 and a quarter. And then all of a sudden you have more revenue coming in.
That's what I was gonna point out.
And you wouldn't want to put pressure on them so much that that could possibly happen at a reasonable.
Right. But there again, you've got building inspections and everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's a question. Do they pay for the building inspections? Does the
Town doesn't pay for inspections.
doesn't pay the building inspector?
Right, won't you know?
They're,
Okay, no.
no, that's,
Because I know town, yes, building inspector.
we raise the rates for the new builds out there
Okay,
to cover.
that's what my question was. So, good lord, that's gonna be a
But
lot.
we took care of that
Okay.
so that it would be in effect by the time.
Well,
Thank you. I was like, all of a sudden, I hit me in the head, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's right, because I forgot, because Deb said we had to redo that, but it'll be in effect by the time.
Okay, that was what
We're
my
just talking
concern was about that.
Well, no, for inspections.
Inspections.
All that's already,
You're
we've
talking
had
about
those.
law.
Because that probably would cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, that's, well, that was what I was thinking, my gosh, I never even thought about that, but that's a lot of money. So that's good.
No, I mean, we only raised the fees so it kind of evened out. We're not making money.
Not making money, but at least it's, we're not, the town is not losing money, it's not obviously.
And really, you want to, I mean, again, this isn't necessarily going to move the needle, it's a nice partnership, but also, again, with the loan, on the other side with the sewer project, you kind of want to hope that these get built.
Well,
that
and we
the
know
tap
there's gonna
fees-
be other
Yes,
issues that come up that we're gonna need to fund.
Yeah.
As there always is with everything we do.
yep,
Now, in your figures here, you factored in all
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, he's got SB1 listed in there, if that's what you're talking about.
yeah, and then just the changes from the homestead and how it's just differently calculated now, a lot has changed. Supplemental used to just be a flat fee, and now it's changing out to 2030 as they reduce, it just kind of bumps things a little bit, but everybody seems to be getting their hands around it.
Until it changes next year.
Yeah. So he goes, oops, what did I do?
Yeah.
You'll have questions, I know, that will come up in a week or whatever. I mean, just email me, we can jump on another Zoom call if we want to or whatever. You can talk to Adam as well, kind of get his thoughts since he's not here. I can talk to him too, get his thoughts. Okay.
So does anybody have any thoughts about what they might be willing to offer? Or how we want to structure? Because, I mean, well, I know, but we need to know how much we're gonna,
Well, I mean, not upfront, I'm not upfront.
Yeah, I think building the first 100 and whether it's 110 and it matches what you have with the sewer side, or we could do more 119.
homes is what they allowed us to use for the loan.
For the loan.
So I would say right there's your basis.
Well,
113.
okay, Jared told me 110. Okay, so 113.
Was the base.
Okay. But really, how does that then tie up with the phasing? I mean, it almost makes sense to kind of say, do all of phase one. Right,
Right,
it's
because
100,
there's 125.
118, they told us.
Oh, now?
It's a moving target. It's what, I think it's whatever phase one is where you tie.
Arbor has bought the first 125 lots. We had to, because of IDEM's calculations on water, they had to say, we were only gonna do X amount of lots in the first phase. Because IDEM is used as a number of 0.85 gallons per hour for a new home.
What is it?
So they're
0.85.
0.85. So basically what it comes out of calculations is the 200 homes out there will use almost twice as amount of water than the 550 customers we have in the town,
They might.
by their calculations.
Well, they're not wrong, there are gonna be young people that wanna climb up down all the stairs and they don't turn out lights
And
and
they're
they
gonna-
let water run constantly.
Well, they're gonna be people that probably haven't paid a water and sewer
Well,
bill.
I mean,
And after they get the first few, and they're calling out here. Yeah.
if nobody did hear,
No, they're gonna have
they're
gas.
not, that's all electric homes, there's no gas going in out there. Because
Yeah, they're not all built.
of the electric that they weren't paying on. Centerpoint wanted that line of credit thing, which would have took out off their books, what they could, the money they had. So therefore, they chose to make it all like.
So I think it, for example, makes sense to say something like phase one with a minimum homes of X completed, right? So they can't say, well, phase one is only 50 homes now, right? Because so you got to define what phase one is with a minimum number of homes to be built and completed, right? So you got to say, so you got to kind of define what that phase one looks like, and then we
As many loopholes as you can.
so we can kind of figure that out, and then again, it could be depending on tax rate, what it is, and value of homes. We can then even tie it into and also an AV number, right? So, because what if these homes are all built, but they're significantly lower in assessed value, right? You don't want to then promise them the same amount of dollar per lot because they're not as worth as much and you don't have as much coming in. So you could do it as a percentage. So again, not to overcomplicate things, but I think.
What number were they asking for?
Well, 1.4 million or 1.3 million, just depends on if you use 7,000 or 7,500 per lot.
Right, which would come out to, 1.4 million was what the total estimate of electric was.
You did,
So they're looking at about a third of what we're gonna bring in.
Yeah, and I think there's,
And they're not getting that.
no, I don't think there's a need.
I mean, I'm leaning toward 15%. Yeah, I looked at 20% too.
It's like amount per lot.
you thought about it.
Well, I was, I looked at the number.
How much is the 10%?
10% will be 130 now.
No. I'm going off the total,
Amount.
the 4 million.
So it'd be 7 or 20. So I wouldn't even pay for the lots.
That's why I was like 20%, gives them 828,000, basically.
20% is how much?
828, 144.
So really what we have,
No, I mean,
if you run this out and you match
Which is
up their
about-
119 homes, which we'll just call it as their phase one, they said those are going to be completed by 2031. In the projections, thereabouts. So if we add up the revenue produced within the TIF area at that time, it's only $604,296. So, maybe there's a portion of a lump sum that's maybe given to them at that point because they completed phase one, and then they get to pick up a little bit over the rest of the time, just as you can. Right, just because, again, they built them quickly enough, if they really have, that, that's where you're gonna be. Maybe if it draws back a year, it's 800,000, and you say, okay, we'll give you 50,000 now, and then we'll give you another $5,000 for the next 15 years, right? Something like that, right? That way, then it gets to maybe your total 15%, but I wouldn't get to that point until everything's been built out and, the project's
well,
completed.
it's sold,
Yeah,
right?
which really, they're saying, they get to 80 and 119. I mean, they're potentially saying this could happen by 2032.
So let me ask you something. If they build a house, because Arbor does that, with respect. If they build a house, but didn't sell it for a year, they still have to pay.
Oh, sure, oh, absolutely.
So they're still on the line.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's assessed, it just depends on when the assessor comes in, if there's no sold value, what are they, hopefully if they're looking at the previously sold house and says, oh, here's my assessed value, this one that's sold next to it. It's always nice when you have an actual sold house to get to the AV, but, so those are, I think, again, ways just to think about. It might be helpful of, again, 15% of the total value over the life of it, and then how do we cut that up to
Right.
10% or whatever else, and then when do we pay it back, right? I mean, so, and, meanwhile, those dollars hopefully are earning you dollars as they come in until you have to pay.
Say your interest alone, some of that would make part of that money back.
Yeah, I mean, it helps.
Well, it depends what interest rates are doing.
I said part, I didn't say not, I said part.
Yeah.
Get back down to 0.202%.
Yeah. Well, then you might be selling a lot of homes. Mortgages are,
Yeah. Well, I just think before we have Simplified coming in here next month, we need to have some sort of plan in
That's
place
where we're at right
so that we're not.
now. We're in the grading portion of SRF right now.
yeah, I think it would be, if you ask them to come, well, first, I think, if we're not gonna offer them anything, I don't think we should probably invite them.
You're right, but, I mean,
If there's something willing, I think what you do is you invite them in and say, hey, towards the end, this is what we're
They
willing
promise.
yeah.
to provide, and have that conversation at that time.
Like he said, you can always change.
Well, I don't know if we do that, or if you guys will get a list of questions, then I can have a conversation with him, get
Yeah.
answers, because otherwise we've got to do a public meeting
Oh, no, that's not.
and do it all. And I mean,
Because we can't do it.
Yeah, I think if you gather your questions and your,
because I don't want
Ideas
to
and
waste his
concepts.
time either. That way I can email him the questions, he can kind of wrap his head around it. We'll hop on a call, Doug and Adam. We'll do two of us on a call. So. Once we figure out. Yeah, no, he had accepted the meeting, but then I got his out of office, so I
Yeah,
wasn't
yes,
sure.
yeah, I got it on the.
which way
and it's
It
all
was
on it.
no or not, so. I was hoping zoom in or something, but.
So Doug, I feel like after all this is, after everybody asks their questions and they get answers, they're still gonna ask for your opinion on what they should do. You know what I mean? Like,
You're gonna
what's the
collectively
smartest
make your
economic
opinion.
thinking, because you're doing this
yeah,
all the time, and they're gonna say, what is your advice?
yeah, our line of business, we're more supportive from an economic development standpoint. If it's needed, or projects to support it this way. We're different than somebody like an Adam, an attorney, who just says yes or no,
Right.
Yeah,
right? And
you're looking at the gray area.
yeah, I mean, and some attorneys are different, where they're very supportive of using these a lot. I think Adam's is, kind of his mentor at the firm, and everything else is a little bit different direction. So I think, you take all of those things into consideration, whether or not, I always kind of look at, if they meet the requirement of, yes, they need some help. And again, that's always arbitrary, and really, do you ever really know if they do or not?
Well, that's the issue.
It's the
I mean,
partnership.
everybody wants, it's a partnership, and that is what we're trying to do.
Yes.
So,
And from a community standpoint, I think that's one of the things that we've talked about.
but I don't want to give them so much that, because number one, they're gonna pass the cost of the electric on to their end users. You know they are, okay? So for them to say, well, it's costing us this, and we don't normally have to pay that, well, your homeowner's the one that's gonna end up paying it.
Yep.
You may pay it up front, but we all know how that works,
Yeah.
okay? But I also, if we need to help the school out or direct some money to them down the road, I want to be able for us to have that money because we don't ever want to see our schools suffer or
The town.
the
You're not talking, one project's not gonna be a make or break. But it's this whole idea that it's there
Yeah,
and now we can benefit from it. And you're ultimately gonna be putting the cost back to, if you continue to do these, and it's just not Jamestown, it'd be Advance and Thorntown. You're ultimately putting it back on every single taxpayer
right.
in Western Boone Corporation. Because then they're the one that's gonna take more of a burden on when it comes to the debt service for the building.
Right.
So, you've got to look at it more globally further down the road. Right now, I mean, is it gonna make or break us? Will we appreciate a pass through, whatever's allowed? Yes, and I appreciate you thinking of that. So that, this first, we need it. It's gonna, I don't know what Doug's projections are right now. I mean, Arbor Homes told me that with Westfall Place and Thorntown 4 years ago, I think it was, that it's a half a kid per new home. That's probably high.
Yeah, probably.
And so if we could get 90 kids, then that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we're isolationless here and not a global. We're looking for us. I know how Shane thinks.
yeah, but one way or another, you're gonna pay for it, is my
Yes.
point.
No,
Yeah, and sometimes you look at, I've got an example where a town, outside of Indy, just turned down a development project and didn't offer a TIF, and that developer's walking away.
Yeah.
Right, and so, we gotta go meet next week with, the town folks and just, they're gonna wanna know why. And he's like, I can't,
yeah,
because then he's got another project in another community that he can devote his dollars towards, right, somewhere else. So, I mean, these things do, this is a part of what we see on economic development all the time is, they're trying to make a living on what they do and they just go somewhere else if it doesn't work out for them, so.
And I did find out something else for guys, just food for thought with Arbor. The reason why Arbor did not buy the ground themselves and do this is because now that they're owned by a publicly traded company, they've got to watch how much money that they have invested
yeah.
in these places. So therefore, it's easier for them to pay a little bit more for a lot and have somebody else on the line for the lots.
And a little less than a year.
So it's a lot different when you have a public shareholder.
So, because I had talked to them about here and they weren't interested, so it's too far out.
Well, now Lily's building 2 projects out here and everything else. I forget what somebody said. I thought they said there was something like almost 20 communities around Indiana that they've got going. Somewhere
I'd
around
say
there.
it's probably 10.
I know
When
10 around here. I don't know about more
When
than
I
there's some
looked
in
on-
Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So Josh, Doug, do we know when they're breaking ground out there?
Yes,
Projected?
they're supposed to be here, they didn't make it here this week, so next week they're cutting the trees down and they are supposed to be full swing by the middle of August. Their game plan is to have, that's what I call the island, so the 2 entrances up to the second road, the long road that runs back to the pond. That area paved before the end of paving season this year, so Arbor can start building the model homes. So that way they are ready to have lots sellable by the first quarter of next year.
So now,
So that puts them, in that one line area where they're saying 27, 28. getting
That's all
Texas.
together.
But as soon as they get arbor lots, I think they get somewhere around 15, 20 lots that'll be available. When they get in that area, get that done. So that means arbor's on the hook for 9.25 after that.
And so the BZA did grant the variance for the new product that Arbor's wanting to do with the smaller ground floor square footage.
Yeah.
So,
Now, they did, correct me if I'm wrong, they did do that, but only allowed them to go up to 50% of the lots, correct?
correct.
Yes.
Only 50%.
Yes. They can only build those on 50% of the lots in first phase, or
In the whole
the whole
thing.
thing.
Which I thought was like, I know.
What, to lock them in? No,
Yeah.
no, we want some of those $300,000 houses built in there. That's what I'm looking at, is this part of it. If,
Whatever people want.
well, I understand.
What if every single person in their one houses?
So,
Well, then they start another phase. They buy more land and they can put those in another phase.
But I really don't think that, 100 people's gonna want it. Or,
A 400 square foot first floor.
it goes back
Two-story or
to the young kids we were just
Yeah.
talking about. I mean, it's the first time home buyer type of things.
How many square feet is the whole house?
It's still 1175 for their smallest.
Just to not.
Yeah, so 19 something is the most. But they go up instead of wide, so therefore they're saving on all the concrete and roofs and all that stuff for it.
yes.
When you first said. Yeah.
Well, all that's where, I mean, people are going that way, with kind of houses. Yeah. I don't think
Well, actually, there's
Keep up, we're gonna be living in pity barns, so.
That's
up there, Fish, Noblesville.
They have some nice
Sexton's the
ones.
name of the addition up there. They actually had an addition up there with their brownstones in part of it. Yes. And that's an up neighborhood.
I know.
So, yeah, they're 2 and 3 story, never attached to each other all the way down through there. Right by the IU, when you get off, where Cabela's is up there? Saxony, there you go, Saxony. Right there by the IU.
When Indians are down on the west side of Grace.
The whole retirement.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna buy $1, so. One. I don't know what's first.
I think they're.
I can't do it. 3 steps into my house is bad.
Okay, you may have any other questions, concerns, things I've missed we need to discuss?
We'll send questions to you.
Yeah, the sooner the better, so that,
Tina.
yeah.
So she can.
Get rid of that.
Because that way, if we decide we want to rush meeting with Simplified, we'll have time to set up a special meeting before our next meeting. Because our next meeting's not till August 14th, so.
If they come, I'm not responsible for anything that flies out of my mouth.
I'll bring it up to you.
You're ever responsible for anything that
Yeah.
flies out.
They probably don't want to hear, actually, I don't think the boss will want to hear what I think of.
Well, Ross is in Vegas, I mean, who knows that he'll be there.
Well, I don't care if you didn't hear or not, but I'm just saying.
Correct.
They really simplify it. They want a clean developer.
We've been asking for these numbers for better. He was told to work with you. You were part of this team. He did not do that. They said they were coming. I did not want to be sued by allowing a housing development to come in and not be able to provide sewer services. So we did what we had to do to secure our sewer services. After he said, we don't need your tip, we have all the cash. And he told me and the attorney that.
Yeah,
And now all of a sudden you want this money after we've already financed what we needed to finance. And I am gonna say all of that when he's standing down there.
Okay.
I mean, that's fair.
It's the honest to God's truth of how this project has been.
Yep.
And if they can't handle, we need those houses. We need them. But if they can't listen to the truth, I mean, what was we supposed to do? Bring your popcorn.
Yeah.
What means this,
Lock in.
I was like, I'm not coming that one.
Yeah.
You'll need to be here in person for that
I'd
too.
like,
I don't like it.
I
Okay.
got my buddies back.
That's why.
Ball hasn't done nothing yet.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor,
Aye.
7:37.
Thank you.
City's all extra, right?
Next meeting is August.
You said something about